when I called you the master,
Okay.
it was because the very first movie that I ever saw that you did was Swinging to Romance with Danica.
Ah, yes.
And
Great film.
one of my absolute favorites. Of course, I love her too, but just
Right?
one of my absolute favorites. And that's why I called you the master. I also call you a masterpiece because it was so well done. And she
Oh, wow.
so wonderful to work with too.
Oh, she's a dream. I mean, she's so well, she's been in the game a long time. She's very, very talented, but just a wonderful person. And she just said that it was our first experience working together. We've done two movies together, and that was just a great way to start a collaborative relationship with her because she's very knowledgeable, extremely prepared, and so very charming, and works really, really hard. And that was a project that was particularly close to her because she loves dance so much, and she brought a lot to that movie beyond just being, the lead actress on it. She was heavily invested in preparing with choreography and even title design of the movie. I mean, she's a force of nature. I really appreciate working with her. That's for sure.
And talking about having like a student, you being the teacher, the producer, I couldn't have put it any better. She has been. She is a true professional in this. I mean, I remember
Yes.
her from the Wonder Years.
No, that's very funny. When you get an opportunity to work with some of these professionals who've been in the business for a while, whether it's like Danica or Lacey, we grew up with these people. Or, it's like be able to finally get a chance to work with them. I worked with Kathleen Robertson. I remember her 90210, and I just think it was just we were young people. We're watching these young people on TV, and then you finally get a chance to work with them when they were seasoned, mature adults who are still perfecting their craft and having a fun time doing it. It's a remarkable journey that you get a chance to work alongside these folks. So it's just been a lot of fun in this arena for sure.
I mean, to me, it's like a life evolvement, and then be a part and have them, be a part of something that you're doing. It's like the cherry on the sundae.
Yeah, and and the things that they were doing as young people were as a filmmaker, you're absorbing the craft through just osmosis as a watching as a kid on television, and eventually going to pursue it as a discipline in film school, and then get a chance to work with the people that you were watching when you were just starting to think that this is a career path that you might want to go down. It's awesome. You get to meet your folks that were inspiring when they were watching stuff that they were doing when we were all younger. I
And
bet I'd never worked with Jen until this movie though. That was our first time getting to
really,
this movie. Yeah, that's our first time. And talk about a quick and easy team building experience for the two of us because we just clicked and Nick as well. I mean, it's a lot of fun. A lot of work. These films are, have aggressive schedules, and there's a lot of moving pieces. And but when you can find somebody that you can, quickly find some common ground with outside of the work, even you start to respect them as people, and you just like they show up for you, and you show up for them because you really admire who they are as people. That's the blessing that comes from having these collisions that are intense, short duration, but you're on set with these folks all day, and there's just a lot of opportunity to get to know somebody. And then there's also time you got to give, you got to have space too, right? So,
true.
yeah.
I think also, which is a true testament to you as a producer and the director, these films are filmed in such a short amount of time. So it's like
Yep.
you have to develop the relationship with the people that you're working with. Then you have to get the whole concept down of the scenes and everything. I mean, to me, it's like a fast moving train
Oh,
almost.
yes. Well, whenever I have an opportunity to have the first dialogue going with the performers, because they're attached to the projects often before I'm attached to a project, or I'm then have an opportunity to actually be part of attaching somebody, which has happened many, many times in my career, which is also very exciting. Like when you can, you know, find a project and say, this would be great for, Billy Baldwin, or it'd be wonderful to work with, you know, Kathleen Robertson on this, or what I like to start doing is having a dialogue with these folks before we even get on set. Just thinking, hi, I'm Bradley. This is who I am. Can we jump on a Zoom call? Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about the movie. Let's initiate a creative collaboration before we even show up on set. I'd rather start having questions answered for you sooner than later, and start the like we can start the creative juices flowing right now. We don't have to wait till we're on set, and why we're better off to start the being able to work with the script and develop the project when we're prior to arriving on location. And I always like to make that overture to the talent. And pretty much 99% of the time people respond to it. They love it. They're like, okay, great. I have access to the director, the producer. This is awesome. So it makes for some really great dialogue going well in advance. I'm going to go for 1 second to just plug my computer in. Just gonna plug my laptop. The battery's dying. Just look. Oh my gosh, I got 5%. It's going to die. Hang on 1 sec. All right. How horribly unprofessional.
Oh, stop. I think all of us can relate to technology and then going, oops, I forgot
Yeah,
to do the
totally.
most important part.
And I'm on a remote location right now. So hi again. Sorry about that. My apologies.
Oh, it's okay. I
So
have
the
to
funny thing is, just before this call started, I was in my driveway shampooing my dog who just got skunked. So I'm a little discombobulated from that. I'm here in the wilderness at in my cottage, and just came back from a walk. And as we're heading back, I got a half hour before the call, Judo gets skunked by his for his fifth time in his life. You think he would figure it out by now? It's just that
know.
yeah. Anyhow, so here I am. I made it.
No, you're good. You're good. But judo, 5 times. Come on, buddy.
Right? He's a known fixture on my sets, that's for sure. He's been in a lot of movies, and he's at my side by the monitors, and often in meetings as sitting on his mat next to me, and he's very, very friendly. People love having his presence around. For the most part, I haven't heard anybody complain. Sometimes I find him in somebody else's vehicle when I'm working. I'll find that he's gone into town on a run with like one of the drivers, or he's sitting in the craft service truck, or he's like in the wardrobe trailer. He makes his way around, and everybody knows to take care of him, and he's got a tracker on him, so he's good to go. But yeah, it's an industry where we're often allowed to have that kind of presence in our spaces. So it makes for just sometimes it's just really healing in a way when things are you know in these short schedules and people are looking for just something to make them feel good. There's Judo. He's over showing his good rub my belly. He doesn't care about schedule or anything. He's just happy to be there around people and reminds us that's one of the blessings that we have when we do these projects. We get to do this together, you know?
Mm, and I love it. The photos that you showed me, I was laughing. I showed my mom. I said, "Will you look at this?" I said, "He's equally the star on set."
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's very funny. It's very funny. Okay.
Nick and Jen. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been such a huge fan of Jen's work, and I've seen Nick's, but it had to be. They just seem like just like from what you just said, it just seems like they had to be such a great team to do this with to produce and direct.
Well, with the pairing of the two of them, I mean, obviously the chemistry comes across great on camera and in the cut. They just created chemistry right away because they're just again really great people, very prepared, coming from completely different worlds to
Mm.
become performers, and both of their journeys are really admirable, and the way that they just created this fun language between them in between takes was hilarious because like Nick's a giant. I'm 6'4" and he's taller than me and he's like huge. And Jen, I'm pretty sure Jen is barely 5'3". So it made for some interesting challenges with blocking and staging the scenes because of the height difference. But and then they're both so amazing on camera. The camera loves them, and but their chemistry and just their playfulness is really and the character. They obviously it's something that they're following the path of the journey of their character, so they're not like leaping to something right away artificially. they're carefully plotting it along with the development of the character and the narrative, which is something you always hope that a performer is able to understand, brings along with them, right? And those
Mm-hmm.
conversations start early. Those are the ones that say, "Hey, I'm Bradley, going to be your director in the next show. Let's start talking about your character and being able to feed information and understand." And then they could start helping nurture the script, which was already solid. But when you get to a performer who has some ideas, I'm definitely open to collaboration. And Ansley wrote such a fantastic script. It wasn't a lot to do any polishing to it. It was just adding some extra ideas, and she's very open minded to that. And the performers were adding some value with the things they brought to it. So it was great.
He's amazing as a writer too. I mean, this is like the stellar, I think, like the stellar project to be a part of.
Yeah, if you add the team that involves my producers that work alongside me with Amy and Brad Crevoy and David Anselmo, Amy Krell, and just the everybody we've been working together for 10 years now. This is a decade of partnership and collaborations that this has been 10 years in the making. So we have a real shorthand, which makes it so much easier when you're dealing with things like you were saying, the challenging schedule. So it's just
Oh
really
yeah.
nice when you've got folks that you believe they got your back just as much as you've got theirs, and there's no nonsense. It's just straight to work and make it as enjoyable for everyone as we can, but get it done.
I saw the little bit of a preview online of the movie, and let me tell you something. You did a good job because that was the first thing I thought in my head because I know Nick is tall,
Oh,
and I
right.
know Jen is more on the shorter side. I'm like,
Uh,
how in the world did he do this?
there's a funny scene as an outtake. Speaking of his height and his physicality, there's an outtake that we did when he there's a moment where he hears something in the home, and it's because Jen's character's in the she's doing some decorating in the house with him not knowing that she was there. So he's like, "Is there an intruder in the house?" And it's certainly not at all menacing or scary or anything. He's just like, "Oh, what's that noise?" But then we did a take where we because of Nick is like a world class. I think he's like a 5-time world champion bow staff athlete, and so we had a giant candy cane on set, and he did this move with the giant candy cane on set. I was just like, oh my gosh, that is just amazing. That's a brilliant outtake that no one will ever see. But the things he did with this giant candy cane was like right out of like he's like as a Sith Lord in Star Wars. It was awesome. It was awesome. But he's a big man, that's for sure. But he's got a big heart, which is what was needed for this part too. That's the great thing is when these movies, yeah, they have their narratives, but when you have characters and performers that can connect on the relationship romance level like they did, it's fantastic because that's I believe that's what our audience is tuning in for, is to see where things would go, how things will blossom, and those two they really brought it, so it was great.
You just touched on something that it was discussed with any of the talent that I talked to, including directors and producers. That's the part that we don't see. We see the chemistry between the two actors, example, Nick and Jen, but we
Yep.
don't see the intricacy of everything being put together. I mean, it's one thing, to get to talk and kind of collaborate with this talent, but it's another thing to bring that connectivity together. And that's ultimately what the fans, I mean, major kudos to you, and the rest of the team. That's what us fans love is the work that we see that obviously goes on behind the scenes.
And creating a space for people to feel safe to make these vulnerable choices on camera in front of a group of strangers, because that's what 60 people on set are, and be able to go to a place where we feel that what they're emoting is genuine, comes from a place that
Mhm.
feels legitimate, because of all the performances that lead up to, say, an intimate moment with two people that confessing their feelings about one another or about somebody else, and I think it starts with just creating a really great space for people to feel like they are given an opportunity to stretch out creatively and be able to really dive into a character and not feel, restrained. And then I love notes are something directors are often give. Not everybody does. It's something that I enjoy doing when it's appropriate. I love always seeing what a performer comes to a particular scene with right out of the box. We'll have sometimes an opportunity with a rehearsal or dialogue in advance to talk about the scene, but it's just being able to nudge somebody along and being paying attention to what they're doing and be able to say, I really love when you did that. That the thing when you did at that particular moment, I want that again. But then let's try like this thing here. And they're great because they people like real performers, they love being given stuff to do. They don't want to direct themselves. Most of them are very capable of doing that in the absence of directing, and that's unfortunately something that happens a lot in our business. That not everybody is able to give character direction and performers information that will help them craft a character. It's something I really enjoy doing. I call it like mental gymnastics because like you have to really pay attention. And that's like we have like 2 minutes to do our thing. Our crews had, barely 40 minutes to light a scene because our schedules are so aggressive and they have the
That's unbelievable.
yeah, we have the shortest amount of time to do our thing, and it's the most important times because no one's connecting with the set dressing. Although we want it to look fantastic, and it will definitely as a story scene or a situation. But if our characters are like not given the space to do their thing, the humans watching aren't going to connect to the story. So it's a very intricate dance. And sometimes when you've established really great trust with cast and performers, you know that you've been painted into a corner because of weather or something fell through because there's just a million moving pieces and something can go horribly wrong. When you can say to them, "Listen, I've got 1 minute to get this. We're going to do it like this. Are you up for it?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's go for it." Because you've built the trust, you've like, they know that you're listening, that you've been paying attention, that you're guiding them. And then you can be say, look, I'm in a world of pain over here. I think I like to try and accomplish the scene this way. And they're like, yeah, great, let's go for it. And it's pretty exciting because that happens at least once every project where something just, comes off the wheels a little bit and you've got to be able to get it back on and not be afraid to deviate from a plan that you walk in with, which is the key. It's like I always have a plan, but that plan is open to interpretation based on the elements that are handed to you on the day. So being able to adapt is definitely something that the performers really respect too, and they say, okay, they're going to be able to solve a problem for us. Like, yes, let's move along this way. We'll be successful.
And I think too, it's a true testament to you as both the director and the producer for the people and the being that are the part of the project, Nick and Jen, to feel comfortable to know, okay, there may be, I can't believe, such a short amount of time to do, say 1 minute to do a specific scene, but they
Yeah.
feel comfortable enough with you to go, okay, we're good.
Yes, yeah, that's really that's they don't want to have to second guess and it's great like a performer when they're like I'd like to do another one like yes let's go for another one you don't want to deny them that so I've witnessed because I as a producer I've also hired directors to come on board for series work when I'm like responsible for that bringing them on board and you'll hear sometimes from the performers like yeah I'm never getting a chance to get a second take or whatever an additional take or they're cutting me off too soon and you'll learn from hearing from performers about how the other directors operate about how you would like to do better if you have that chance and not everybody is able to give the space that performers need. Again, they are the most important component to all of this, as far as I'm concerned, is the story and the person who is delivering it on camera, and then the team behind that, which starts with the producers and the director and everyone that folds in behind that. But really, we're not connecting to like how cool a shot that is. That's great, but that makes that moment interesting. But it's whether or not we believe the person who is giving us that character on camera that we will connect with that more.
Okay, I know this is probably going to be hard, and I'm so excited to see this movie. It looks so adorable. But favorite moments for you as both the director and the producer doing this one, working with Jen and Nick.
So, what was my favorite moment?
Yeah, favorite moment as producer and favorite moment
Oh,
as director. I'll make it. We'll do one and one.
wow, it's a really tough one. We had that really interesting, challenging scene because of a tight location in a kitchen. and it's when we're feeling them coming apart. And I particularly like those scenes because if we don't have those, the darkness, and this is not a movie with much darkness, except that we're seeing a relationship kind of imploding. When you have those moments and you really deliver on them in a way that feels genuine, then when they reconnect again, it's very fulfilling. Our audience is like, yeah, they want that to happen, but it's only as effective as when you see how horribly they fall apart. So I quite like that because it's we're having the lighter moments in the production of the movie, which is a lot of fun. But then we're doing a color shift. We're trying something a little different than what we've been doing for days on end, and so they're dipping into a different toolbox to go there, and it's really great to see how they can make that adjustment, and it's just like awesome. That's why it's Nick and Jen, because these guys are awesome. They know how to go there, and in that particular sequence, that scene, it was challenging because the location was tight. So made it challenging just from the physical nature of where we were, and so we had to be a little creative. So that was great. And as far as a producer, well, I it goes without saying that a lot of these movies have a Christmas village in it, right? And a
Well,
marketplace. We all will now. There's a couple reasons why I like the villages because I've done many of them and I try to make them different every time, but they still have the same DNA, which is to celebrate a holiday and with various crafts and interesting human beings populating it. And and as my family has matured, I've managed to have my children join me on set to be part of those scenes. So that's something as a producer I'm able to influence, be able to say, hey, my son's available, my other son's available. We'd love to have them come and join us for the day and be able to see them on set and seeing their dad come and work it's really great. They've learned a lot about just what it is to operate in an adult world through that experience, which is really good too, because these environments that we create on my sets tend to be very healthy ones. So it's always a good experience for them. And then as well, I have a sweet tooth. So these little marketplaces often have like a lot of baked goods available as props. And well, props
no,
masters they've kind of caught on to me a little bit. So they're hiding the good stuff from me often. But if they put the good stuff out, I will take the privilege of walking by and grabbing a cookie where somebody else would not be able to. I will be eating that cookie. And I've had to wean myself off of that because I tend to respect my waistline a little bit more than I did when I first started doing holiday movies. But now I'm trying to curve that sweet tooth a little bit. But I do like having that stuff around. So yeah, there you go. Those are two really different answers.
that's one of the biggest, a lot of the Christmas movies that I've seen. I'm like, that's the first aspect that I will go. I'm like, oh my God, if there's a bakery, oh my God, I would just, I would be in so much trouble.
Yeah, it makes for a lot of fun because and we also like I've done uh pictures that are like also they're period pieces and you're trying to create like an authentic well we don't have the things that we would have in a contemporary Christmas village. We got to find ways to imagine what it would be like when Hope Calls. I did a Christmas special and we had to create like a village. Oh my, it was gorgeous. The production design on that was fantastic. And also being period, there was a lot of texture and the light was gorgeous. It was Russ Guzzi was cinematographer, looked phenomenal. And the Christmas village was different than a modern Christmas village. And like roasted chestnuts were really chestnuts being roasted, and the baked goods were really good in that one. But there's every one of these holiday pictures, and I haven't done a million of them, but I have done a few. We try to make them different from one another when it comes to the Christmas villages, even though they share that common requirement to make something special for our characters to walk through.
Yeah. And I remember that episode of When Hope Calls. That was, I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, it was nice. It was really lovely. And then that was not my first time working with reindeer, but it was the children and the reindeer in that particular in that special were just the magic that was happening. That the young people in the narrative were mistaking the mayor of the town as being Santa Claus, and Spider came across him in the woods, and just how we actually managed to make it look like a full, train of reindeer was hilarious and that was challenging, but it was fun.
It seems like from what I've seen that you've done, and I can't wait to see Love Under the Mistletoe, but it seems like you've always had that eye. To do this whole producing and directing.
Well, that's I really like doing television movies for a few reasons. I like the longer collaborations that they require from from the pre-production to all the way through post. And I've done a lot of episodic work as well. But I like the movies because you're required to have a vision that is that you're designing from the ground up as you inherit the script and do your best to elevate it and have all the great conversations, creating a world that didn't exist before. When you're a guest director on a series that you're not responsible for, you're respecting the work that had been established prior to you being there and doing your best to elevate the material and but still understanding the goalposts and the guardrails for their show. Then for me on series work, when I've been able to be a producer, an exec producer, and actually create the world and then supervise it being consistent throughout the next guest director, that's a joy as well because it leans into my skill set as being somebody who's not afraid to make decisions, which is required when you're designing something from the ground up and being able to have a vision for creating a world or a space or a character. And because there's lots of folks that walk into series world where there's a lot of protection in place already. There's a set ground rules, and you fold into it, and you shoot a schedule successfully, and you do your best to make the material as strong for your producers as possible. And that's a skill set that I also enjoy. But I like designing things. It comes from my background as a photographer, as a music video director, and as a commercial director, where I was responsible for creating all those decisions, making all those creative decisions. So
Very cool. That had to be awesome. Being a
yeah,
music producer on top of it.
yes, as well. I'm writing music. I've written music for some of the movies and television series that I've been producing and directing. So I mean, I have a recording studio wherever I go. I have a portable one, and I have one at my home. And it's that's music is being a big part of my life, and that's what brought me into directing music videos is through the community of musicians I was familiar with being an artist on stage myself.
And you've always had the creative mind.
Oh yeah, there was no I mean there was no other choice. I was not going to be a doctor. This was going to happen. As much as my doctor encouraged me to be a doctor. The doctor I had when I was a kid's like, you're really good at sciences and stuff. You should think about being, you like people. You should maybe no, I like my camera and I like people, so I'll use it that way.
Oh, well, I'm glad you sided in with that decision because I think we can all breathe a collective sigh of relief because we all love what you have done.
That's very kind to say.
I know this is probably because I know I probably would be, if I was in your shoes, probably the worst critic of myself. But doing Love Under the Mistletoe and then, going through the process, seeing the scenes back that you did, do you like ever go, oh my God, why did I do that in that scene? Are you like a
Well,
critic on yourself?
in a way that you would never see because often it happens in the edit where we shoot a lot of material. We have to shoot a lot of scenes. We have we're honoring our requirements from our broadcasters and making sure that we've given them the material to cut the film together because they have their cut, which is they inherit my cut, the producer gets a cut, and the broadcaster gets cut, and then we have our final edit. And that's where the pain happens is not because of their decisions, it's just because I've got to start letting stuff go that we spent hours on. It could be like a scene that we spent 3 hours on and then it's getting minimized, or sometimes we just lift it out entirely in order to get the film to time. And that's where it's most frustrating because these are, challenging projects with schedule and budget. And when we have to lift scenes or things get truncated, I mean, it'd be precious to say it's painful. It's not. It's part of the process. But you do see that there's a lot of work and effort when you're doing something. It's just like, oh, that's got to go. And sometimes it's something you really love, but the overall picture is more important than getting, your ego in the way or being too precious about something that's not really moving the story forward as it needs to be. And sometimes you don't discover that until the edit. You do as much work as possible with the script, and then in prep, and then on the floor. But the edit is truly where it's all coming together, and then you have to honor. You have the running time. You got to make sure you get it to time, and literally it comes down to seconds in the end of lifting seconds out in order to get it to time. I've been in the position on a series where, with fantastic work by everyone, but we're 20 minutes over on an episode when the editors assembled this cut with all the scenes intact, just like with barely any fats. It's just okay. This is wow. That's a tough spot to be in, to get rid of 20 minutes. It's even harder to manufacture five if you're short, and that's only ever happened once, and that was an error made in the edit suite that was unfortunate, but we caught it just in time. There was some bad math that took place, but it's really hard to, like, once something's like really in a great place, and then you gotta add stuff back in, and it kind of loses its flow. There's it's there's I think it's worse being short than it is being longer. It's maybe more painful to your ego because of the stuff that you love when it's longer. But when it's short, it's like, holy cow, that's wow. That's why I've heard this is bad. It's only ever happened once. Well, will never happen again. But thankfully, we were able to mitigate that very easily. But it was like it was a bit of a surprise. So I guess that's the thing that would bother me the most in this particular project. Yeah, I mean, there's things that have to go, things that you try and that that worked in the assemble, the edit, in my edit. But then you're at the end of the days, and I won't even mention what those things are because you're never going to see them. They're, they're not in the cut, but you won't notice that they're gone.
I never, it's funny, you said that and you actually taught me because I never would think that, but now as you're saying, I'm like, I would probably be the same. I would spend, like 4 hours on this, 5 hours, 3 hours,
Yeah,
whatever. And, why? There was
yeah,
so much put into it, but I
yeah.
never thought of that process.
And it's a challenge, and it's just part of the responsibility, and it allows everyone to be involved with making the film the best it can possibly be. And we're respecting our broadcast partners with the work that we're doing with them, and we want to make sure that they have an opportunity to craft the film that they had commissioned from us. Is their process with this project started long before I showed up. There's conversations that are 6 months, even maybe even a year old, about the project, and you inherit it. And then what I like to learn is, what were those conversations, so I could properly respect where the project's been and where it wants to go, so I can get it as close to that for them when I deliver my cut, and then the producer's cut. And but there are lots of cooks in the kitchen, they say, and hopefully everyone is helping make the same meal.
True. Yeah, we need everybody collectively to do the same meal. That
Yeah.
that I
And
will
trust
say.
me, everybody wants it to work. Everybody wants it to be great. Once we get to green lighting something and going, like, everyone's pretty excited about the project. So it makes for really great conversations with our broadcast partners and the other producers, because everybody is like, we get a chance to do it, because a lot of people don't. We're lucky. We get to. We don't have to. We get to do this.
It makes sense. And you probably do, but do we have any future stuff that we can look forward to from you?
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's I wouldn't want to let any cats out of the bag, but there's definitely doing development is part of what I like to do, and I've had some success selling series work in the past, and also developing television movies. So that's always ongoing, and it's really great when people ask you about that, because it's a reminder that people are excited and interested in see what you might come up with next. So as much as I
Yes.
can't talk about specifically, because I'm not going to camera tomorrow on anything, um, but I might be in 3 weeks, and I wouldn't want to talk about that just yet, because I don't want to you don't want to jeopardize any of the good luck that's happening in that as it's moving in the right direction. So, but it's exciting. It's not an industry that people should walk into thinking that it's going to be consistent and it's going to be the exact same thing every month. It is definitely ebbs and flows, but you got to believe in yourself, and you got to believe in the business, and you got to believe in your audience, because they're showing up. They want to see this. They want to be given these stories. It's really important. And you wouldn't believe the amount of people I've met who are strangers that when they, you mentioned something, they so you're a film director, done anything? And you mentioned a title you think they would know. I'm like, oh, you know that one? They're like, oh yeah, I love it. Like just you saying how much you enjoyed, Swinging to Romance, which was
My
really
favorite.
great to hear because like there's a tremendous amount of work went into that one just because of the dance. And for me, the background of doing music videos, it was a lot of fun. That's an intimidating type of project for some filmmakers who don't have the confidence about what being able to pull off a sequence with dance or music in on a short schedule. Um,
Mm,
it'll say on the the schedule on the call sheet for that day, dance sequence. That's the bad version of what it would be described as. And a lot of crew will be like, "Oh, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do?" It's just like, I got this. I've done this a lot, so
yeah.
I know how to do this, and I know how to and know what I want to do with this in order to make it different than something I've done before, and just like, and it's coming to it's really coming to play to help out with this area of work with television movies and series work, be able to like do musical sequences or dance sequences or even sports. It's the same kind of mentalities. Like you need coverage, you need to work fast, you need to have confidence, you need to know what you're going to need in the edit suite in order to make it work.
Yeah, it makes sense. It
Yep.
makes sense. Bradley, congratulations on this. I know everybody that I've spoken to, especially after I had mentioned that I was talking to you today. Everybody's so excited to see it. Just
Okay,
enjoy
great.
every bit of it. I mean, what a stellar cast to work with.
Yeah, and there's like from like Lisa and Steve and Melanie are supporting actors were just as wonderful. I mean, when we bring on our stars, we've got a supporting cast that we have to find. And I like, for example, I worked with Melanie when she was like a teen when I worked on a series called Darcy's Wildlife, and that goes back like I don't want to say how long ago, but it goes back like at least 20 years. And
Mm-hmm.
and just seeing her how as she's evolved as a performer over the years to become somebody who's like she'll be starring in her own soon enough, I'm sure of it. She's at that point, and it's great when you have those performers who are right on the edge of being the next star for a network like
Mm-hmm.
Hallmark. It's really great. And then when they can turn around and get recognized for their work by given that opportunity, or like Amy Groening when I did a movie with her, it was her first time being a lead in a television movie. She got nominated for Best Actress, and it was like,
Love
yes,
her.
that's who she is. Oh yeah, amazing. Blind Date for Christmas, awesome. And she was amazing in it, and she was one of those like on the periphery of just waiting for her moment to pop, and they gave her the reins, and she was amazing. She's a force of nature. But I would say that our broadcast partners have really good folks that they got their eyes on. So, but they're looking. So anybody who's a performer out there wondering, oh, I'm only ever going to be a secondary performer in these, the boyfriend or the girlfriend of the star. I'm like, yeah, well, that's where these stars are coming from too. They're giving those
Well,
folks a chance to elevate. When that time comes, be ready.
you got to start somewhere.
Yep,
At least
absolutely.
at least that's my thought
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah. So tell me about you
Oh,
with your affection for these movies. So how did this all start with you? Now you're doing a podcast and
wow. Um,
yeah.
when I think of it, it was a little more than 10 years ago.
Okay.
It kind of fell in my lap. I was out in Hawaii for the red carpet premiere of Hawaii Five-O, the season five premiere.
Okay.
And for long story short, I met up with, it was a local woman that had a radio show. And to make a long story short, she said to me at the time, she goes, "You want to do a radio show?" And I'm like, "Huh? I have not, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
No, you have this." And then I have another friend that's in the industry, and he was like, you need to be, you're like the ideal person. I'm like, are you people crazy? I don't have the education. I don't, to make a long story short, I literally came home and I like cried. And at that time, talk about my mother being like my producer and my director in the moment.
Yeah.
She was like, muster it up. I don't want to hear it. This God's giving you this for a reason. I'm like, but who the hell is going to want to talk to me? I don't have,
And
yeah. And here we go. 10 plus years later, I'm like, I still astound myself because I'm like, at that time, I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, this is not going to be the typical, which drives me nuts in some of his interviews. They ask one question, and before the poor person can finish, they're asking a second question. So I'm
uh,
like, okay, if I'm going to do this, this is going to be from a standpoint of, a best friend conversation, but also me being a fan,
yeah,
allowing a safe space for these actors, actresses, producers, directors, whoever, cross my path. And here we are. I mean, when I look at when I look at the majority of the people who I've talked to, I know the entire cast from Crossroads Springs on Great American Family. I've had so many of them, and I'm like, okay, you know, it's been such a blessing, and I love even more talking, to producers and directors like yourself because you guys are the ones that bring the movies that I love to life. So it's
awesome.
so it's like a yin and a yang, but it's
Well, and I bet you creates a feedback loop for you too, because it probably the investment you're making in discovering more about the shows that you're interested in and the performers, it probably feeds into your passion for your this movies of this sort too, because you're learning more. Probably it's like it's probably it's self-perpetuating. It becomes even more exciting as you dive deeper into it and you learn more.
oh yeah, I've learned so much, even down to, other actors and actresses who I've spoken to. They're like, we don't even feel like we had an interview. And I'm like, I appreciate that. They're like, it's such a safe space. And I'm like, because I equally, just as much as I respect you as being a producer and director on this film, I equally respect them. I mean, it's a craft that is amazing. I have amazing respect for them doing it in such short time, learning so much dialogue and be like laser focused
Yeah.
and on. I mean, it really has. You hit it on it. You hit it for me, and I never even thought it's been such a learning experience. And it's 10, oh my God, 10, 15 years since I've done it.
So what's next for you then? Who you what obviously you're talking about our movie, but what movies on your next horizon that you're going to be diving into a bit more? Do people
Um,
come to you with saying, "Hey, this is a movie we're doing. Would you want to talk about it?" Or do you like look at the schedules of things coming up and then you reach out and you got somebody that helps
pretty
you?
much, I pretty much owe just as much as I did for you and for Jen and for Nick and other ones. I see ones that come up. Either I'll reach out to say, the PR people say for Hallmark or Great American Family, or I'll just reach out, to the stars and be like, hey, because I understand. I'm like, I understand that your schedules are extremely tight.
Yeah.
So, do you have X amount of time to talk? And normally I mean, it's such a warm and receptive thing that everybody's willing to talk.
Well, we're still excited that we get to do what we do. That's for sure. There's definitely been some, changes to the whole industry with technology that's coming and that's being implemented. And at the end of the day, we still want to have the opportunity to create these things with our hands. And it's a blessing that we still get to do it. I'm impressed with how social media has allowed us to connect with each other as well, in that we're
Oh yeah.
able to like learn more about these projects with like whether it's like our conversation was inspired just through a connection through social media that we're able to talk about these things and now I get to meet you and hear about your world and you hear a little bit more about what it is to be involved in the project from my chair and then maybe that will continue to feed the interest from other people to like want to tune in or learn more about the craft and and how the business works, and because it's pretty exciting. It's a really great industry, and I'm thrilled to be part of it. And it's really nice to find people like yourself who help support us and
Thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah, let us
And,
know that we what we're doing is being watched and matters because theater you get instant response. Live music, I've been on stage, I get an instant response, but this is big. It's complicated. There's so many moving
mm,
pieces, and we don't necessarily get to hear from the audience. So it's great, really great, even hearing from you that you liked a movie that I've done before. Thank you for saying that.
oh, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I know I'm gonna love this one, and I know I'm gonna love the one that's out there, possibly.
Yep. Yep.
But you give Judo a hug for me, and you
Sure
tell him
will.
to continue to be the superstar that he is.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It's been a true pleasure. Again, congratulations, and
Thank you.
not our last chat. We will definitely talk again.
All right, then. That sounds good.
Take care.
Okay, take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.